Unmuted everyone, and if anyone has a question, I'd be happy to try and answer. Does anyone have a question?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
I feel like there's this negative energy going around the world, especially in my country. And I was wondering if the work we do can, kind of protect us.
Well, the work I do here in this meditation can certainly help you get strong enough to deal with the kind of negative energy that exists in the world today. That's the purpose of the work. You know, look, this COVID thing has really paralyzed life. At the same time, it's made it possible for these classes to exist, where people attend from all over the world, and they're getting Shakti and energy that will help them to build a system inside that can deal with the immediacy of the problems they have to deal with, without allowing all the nonsense and craziness that goes on in the world to drain them of their energy, to make them afraid. To look, I've said it a million times. Since Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, the world has been crazy. It's been a crazy. Look, from the beginning of time, if you read the most sacred books, the Bible, the Old, and it's all about wars and conquering, and this is what the world is. At the same time, in all of those sacred books, they talk about the things I talk about: connecting with God, getting strong inside, building a system inside that can enable one to transcend the illusion, the Maya of conflict that goes on in this world. That's what these classes are for. They were for that before COVID. They were that during, depressions and inflations, and when the economies were strong. And you understand, this is what these classes are for. The ultimate goal is the realization that all of it is an illusion. It's all transient. It's all constantly changing. And we allow ourselves to get so caught up in the soap opera of life that we forget that there's really a higher energy in the world, a higher power that can give us the strength to deal with all this stuff. So yes, that's what I'm trying to do here. It's not easy to do this, to finally get it through people's heads that they can truly get stronger than all this bullshit that goes on in the world. They don't need to be suffocated by it. And it all depends on each and every one of us. If we want to identify with all that negative, then we do. And it just sucks the life right out of us. We're angry, we're upset, we're bitching and complaining about politicians and how they've wronged the world. They've been doing it for 100,000 years now. I always say there's a special ring for them in Dante's Inferno, in hell, for politicians. Yeah. Where they can continue all their bullshit through eternity. But we allow these things to get into us, mostly because we don't have the strength to detach ourselves from them. Money is another one, Money, is a very serious problem in the lives of most people, even people that make tons of money. They're worth $150 billion, and all they think about is making more money. They're obsessed with something that one day comes to an end, instead of being obsessed with connecting to what's infinite in the universe and freeing oneself of all the Maya, the illusion. So that is honestly what these classes are about. And I know things are very bad now in Brazil, but you know, they're no better here. I mean, when you pick up a newspaper, you look, it's so much bullshit. I mean, everything is negative. I don't see them ever talking about anything positive in the news. You know, nothing. Anything that is, you know, spiritual, that is loving, that is kind, that is good. It's all about people killing each other and racial stuff and, you know, disease and, you know, and it so inundates all of society that it really affects the minds of most people. But these classes are certainly a place to get the strength to where you can really objectively get free of all that. The first thing you got to realize that it doesn't stop. You think it's going to stop when COVID goes away? It's not going to stop. There'll be something else. I mean, I always used to kid around. It would be something to have CNN reporting on the children's crusade in the Middle Ages, when 50,000 children marched across Europe and they, you know, 12, 15 years old, and they were going to conquer the Saracens and the Arabs and the Muslims. I mean, can you imagine the drama on television of them covering something like that? 100 Years War in Europe, you know, 100 Years War. I mean, this has been going on since the beginning of time. And yet through time, we have had extraordinary music, extraordinary art, extraordinary theater. We've had people invent medicine and this and that are healing people. I mean, it's amazing how one thing balances out the other. But most of the press goes towards the negative. I mean, even my classes here, you know, I mean, it's really very humorous to me because I said, all right, I'll charge $5 a class. It's the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you know? And these classes are priceless. And I figured anyone who can't afford $5 for one of these needs these classes more than everybody else. You know, and there's nothing in me that says no, people can come, you know? They need these classes. If you can't break down that barrier that allows you to pay $5 for a class of this nature, then there's something wrong, deeply wrong inside that needs to be fixed. It's extraordinary, you know? To overcome the barriers inside in ourselves. And money is one of the big ones. It's one that, you know, I always say that relationships and money create about 95% of the tension on the planet Earth. And we have to learn how to get stronger than both of them and how to build a system that can deal with these things, these fundamental pressures that we have in life. You know, that every one of them exists as a teacher telling us that we have to get stronger. So you have all of this stuff. I mean, as I say, in Brazil, it's kind of a living nightmare what's going on down there with this COVID. The only place that it's worse is India. And I said from day one that this thing is going to be horrible in India. I've been in India 40 times, and I really know how people live there. And I said from day one, this is going to be a horror here. The crowds and the people and the close way they live together. And look what's going on there. It's really scary almost. But at the same time, you know, we as people doing deep spiritual practice have to get strong enough, to be able to stay detached from all that and connect with spirit, because that's the only pathway out of all of this. I mean, Rudy said the best way out of town is up. It's true. Up. Connect with God and you get your freedom from all the stuff that goes on in the world. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Hey, Stuart, when we're growing and we're at that phase of growth where like the old paradigm is breaking down and we're reaching to the new thing, how do you not just make a ton of mistakes and draw weird conclusions in that little Bardo space between, if that's possible?
It's possible. I mean, look, what kind of conclusions are you going to draw? You just get out of your head. The purpose of this is to truly get out of one's head. And by that, I don't mean go crazy, but I mean quiet the mind, relax the mind, get the mind centered and grounded in the third chakra. Open the mind. Use the mind as like a surgical instrument that can open you inside, and stop thinking about these things and analyzing them, trying to make sense out of things that don't make any sense. I mean, this is the key to all of that. If you don't think about all of these transitions that are taking place, they'll just take place. And you will find yourself on the other side and entering a completely new cycle in your life, experiencing it instead of thinking about it, analyzing it, trying to figure it out. How does it fit in to my concept of the world? I'm talking so many years ago, I gave up having a concept about what life should be. I just live it. And I find that really works for me anyway, just to live it without trying to analyze it and rationalize it and fit it into my little teacup of understanding. I'd much rather embrace the universe and open to it and allow that an energy to flow through me and create my life. I mean, I talk about this a lot, but it's so essential to the inner development of a human being to just let things happen. Let life be. Let it happen. Don't have to understand it. Who can understand? Well, even Einstein shrugged his shoulders one day and said, it must be God. I don't get this. It must be Einstein, the most brilliant minds of the 20th century. It must be God. I can't comprehend all of this. So don't try to think about it. Don't try to analyze it. Don't try to conceptualize it to fit it into your understanding of the world. Because I know my understanding of the world could probably fit into a glass of a wine glass, maybe, shot glass. So I gave up trying to understand it. Much better to experience it. Let it come through as creative energy. It's amazing what it creates for you. I mean, Rudy always talked about that expression. I think it comes from the Bible. The mind is the slayer of the soul. And he always said the mind is the slayer of the soul, because people try to intellectualize everything and they bring everything down to the level of the earth. But at the same time, if the mind is used properly, it gives birth to the soul. If it's used to develop the third chakra, if it's used that way, it opens up the very core of your being that allows you to, have a spiritual life. Gives you the strength to have a spiritual life, the strength to detach from all the stuff that goes on in the world. And, on top of it, we got to enjoy this, I mean, really. If you don't have a sense of humor about what goes on in the world, you're really in a lot of trouble. You have to enjoy it. You have to open to it, love it. It's our teacher. It's God manifesting all around us in thousands of different forms. Who can understand all of that? So it's this like gigantic university called life that's there to teach us everything we need to do to grow spiritually. All we have to do is listen and build a system inside ourselves that's capable of listening and not know better. The second we know better than life, it really just opens a pathway right to the grave. That we think we know better than life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay. Anyway, I always end this with thanking you, and God bless you all for being here, for being part of this. And I hope you're really using these classes to build that kind of inner life that gets you strong enough to be able to detach from all the insanity that goes on in the world. I mean, I always kid around. I wrote a book called Madness Falling from the Sky. I mean, it's a perfect title for what goes on in the world today. And we just have to be able to open inside ourselves and get strong enough to be able to detach from it and realize we're here for one purpose. And that's to build a connection with higher energy in the universe, with God. And if there's any saving grace in the world, that's the saving grace. Because that frees us of all the Maya, all the illusion, all the angst, this enormous soap opera that goes on every day, not on the television set, but out in the world, this gigantic soap opera that's, that people, everybody has their little part in it, Okay, if there are no more questions, then God bless you all. Thank you. And in all humility, I'm so grateful that we can do this and have these classes. So bless you all. And there'll be another class on Wednesday. Thank you,
Stuart.
Bless you.